Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «ГолубьМира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about remote workplaces and let's start with the definition.
There is a saying that now we have a lot of digital nomads. This is the persons who are going to work from India, from some cheap places in Asia, in Africa, because they like climate, because they like food, and then don't want to stay in open office with this noise, air conditioning, and also people's chatting, which are annoying and not given possibility to focus on something which is very important. And in this case, you should have your own computer to switch with Wi-Fi and some other gadgets like maybe microphone, maybe camera, maybe some graphical gadgets to draw something and so on. And also you should have a special schedule because if there are time shift or some other differences between country which are you locating and country where your employee or your customer working.
So in giving that there are a couple of different components that the remote workplace might be consisting of, let's probably talk about the one which is most important is the gear, because it seems that if the person works remotely, they might be like a traveling, or they might be more like mobile, meaning that the hardware is something that they will need to bring together along with them. So what are the things they need to consider when it comes to picking the right hardware in terms of the performance or maybe other different aspects?
You know, there is a challenge. From one side, you want to have, for example, lightest notebook, but from other side, the light notebook, the less performance it has. Second point is the less weight of gadget you have. It is more easy to steal, and in this case, you have like compromise or to buy, for example, notebook for $3,000 less than 1 kilowatt, or to buy, for example, 4.5 kilo for 1,000, it would be the same performance. Second, when you work from your flat, from your office, or even from your co-working place, you will be surrounded in by relative silence. But when you're trying to work from cafe or from the beach or from I don't know, villa which are inhabited by 10 person, you will hear a splash of the shower, the noises of someone bathing in the swimming pool, or maybe children which are running and playing football close to your windows. So you should use also special I don't know, headphones, yes, with compensating of the noises which you're surrounded by.
And when it comes to the, like, let's say like a furniture or environments, what the one should consider in order to be more productive, to not really waste their health on certain things, or maybe even things like the surrounding lighting or anything else that could definitely affect the quality of work.
No, this is no chance to get the right furniture in some countries. For example, in Africa, in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan. So you will work on the box out of ammunition or something like this. Also about cafeteria, you are not going to occupy best places, for example, on the street. So you will sit in a very dark corner, maybe even without electrical socket, because you will be asked to move as far as possible. And if there are free spaces, you will be seated, but if a cafe would be occupied, in total, you will be asked to leave. For example, when I was working in France, I was living in hotel, in a very fancy hotel, and I was going to work in nearest cafe, and several times I was asked to leave the cafe because I was eating not too much, but sitting for hours. Second, when you work, for example, in some strange places, you will need a very nice mouse because it should work on different surface without mouse pad. For example, I use a mouse which called Anywhere. It works even on glass, or even on some very smooth surfaces, and also on some неровный. How to say неровный?
Not so flat.
Bumpy. No, not so flat. Yes,
Probably
yes.
bumpy.
Yes.
And when it comes to different parts of the workplace, remote workplace, like, for example, such a schedule or even the discipline that the person need to apply in order to feel comfortable and be able to be productive and show the results, what kind of things they need to consider, what kind of a mindset they need to apply in order to make sure wherever they are, they can produce the best results as possible. So the remote factor is justified.
You know, the best things I found then when you work in a big, I forget this name for time shift. How you call when you fly from one coast to another coast of the ocean? How you name this gap of the time?
Jet lag.
Jet lag, yes, correct. When I was working in New York, it was maybe the best period of my life because I was swimming in the pools and I was taking some sunbaths in Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. Then I was sleeping for a very short period of time. At 3 o'clock at the local time, I was already in close to my camera, and we were working for 3 or 4 hours. And this time was completely sleepy hours in Las Vegas because it was a dark night, and I was very happy. So this was like day divided for 4 parts. I was working for locals, I was sleeping, I was working for abroad customers, and I was sleeping.
And when it comes to another aspect of this skill, which probably could be a communication, what kind of mindset the person should apply? Like, for example, there should be some sort agreement on the availability, some agreement on the outcome, but maybe even when it comes to the interaction with other team members who, let's say, might be in one meeting room or might be distributed across the world. So probably they need to pack their speech with such words they could really will be to the point so that they don't need to over communicate or have like an endless calls. So what could be the mindset of the person who wants to set the communication framework when they work remotely?
I can even predict smile of your face when I will say some words. First, you should always switch on your web camera to show that you are sitting in some fancy place and to show that you are very attentive. When you are trying to lay on the bed and looking at the ceiling, you are speaking too slowly, and everyone would think you are not very attentive. You are a lazy one. Second, you should be always well prepared. So you should run all the programs, maybe should switch some programs like torrents and so on to provide the best internet you can. And you also should have 2 gadgets, for example, one SIM card or in your notebook and another in your phone to switch smoothly if something will happen with one channel. And last one, you should always make your job, make your documents better than it is expected, because you are going to be compared with people who work close to the customer and you which are working from the long distance, and your speech, your communications will degrade with the time. So you should use a lot of possibility to speak with people on language of your customer.
Which is funny, which reminds me of sometimes there are cases, let's say there's supposed to be important meeting, and apparently Zoom will decide to update themselves, or maybe some of the apps actually start crashing, so you need to restart entire system as well. So preparation is definitely something that should be instilled in when we talk about the remote culture of work and remote workplaces. Last question will be how knowing about the remote workplaces would make to help this world a better place.
For me, remote workplaces, there's this entire life because I was working in different countries starting from March 1993. First, my work was at Frankfurt in Germany, and I was quite far from my customers in Japan and some other countries. Second, my work was in Japan, and I was working with customers from America, from London, and from Netherlands, and so on. Now, for example, you are talking with me from Dubai, and I am sitting in Moscow, and maybe 1 year ago it was several lectures which were provided by me from Maldives and some other countries. So you should be always prepared to open your notebook, to work with your gadget, to make your clients understand that doesn't matter when you're when you're flying and whether you are working from home or from other places. By the way, there's a reason why I started to sit close to the fridge to show my clients that I am at home, because always they couldn't understand. I was always in some hotels and it was very fancy, and they were asking, are you trying to speak from business center? You have no apartment or flat at all?
Well, this is funny. А мы рассмотрели навык удаленные рабочие места и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!